John,
Hey, Brandon.
how are you, buddy?
Doing pretty good. What's going on?
I'm just living the dream here, man. Living the dream in Toronto, as we do. It's nice and sunny today. How's the weather out there?
Coming down in buckets.
That's it, because the West Coast. Didn't we talk about that with the mountains and the Chinooks and all the stuff? No, Chinooks are on the other side of the mountain.
Next to Calgary.
Yeah, that's the other way.
We suffer what's called the Pineapple Express.
That's right. Yes, that's a good movie too. Anyways, we'll stop there. Let's get into her. So, good news. I think I'm coming to see you. I'm putting that out there now. So I'll be out there at the National Immigration Conference is happening in October.
Yeah, that'll be great. It'll be great if you can come out.
Yeah, then we can hang out in person. Hey, maybe we could do a live event together.
There's an idea.
That'll be fun. Will we be masked up and stuff? Do you think, or no?
No. I mean, I'm an optimist. I think by the time October rolls around, we should be pretty much. I'd say the country should be at least 70 or 80% vaccinated.
Cool, awesome. If it's not, I'm going to blame it on you. Okay. All right, let's dive in, man. So today, this week was all about working in Canada and different things because everyone always asks us about work permits and whatnot. And so last Tuesday, we were talking about the different types of work permits. So we decided to extend this a little further. We're going to do a little recap on what the work permits, what we talked about on Tuesday, very brief. And then we're going to talk about how to strategically use your work permits to transition into permanent residency. All right. But before we do that, let's introduce ourselves, John. How about you? Go ahead, John.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Leroney. I'm based out in Surrey, BC. I'm the owner and operator of GatewayPacific.ca, an immigration consultancy. I've been doing this for about 17 years now, 20 in total if you count my time working for other people. I do all areas of immigration, mostly focus on economic categories. And I am glad to be here today.
Awesome. So my name is Brandon Miller, Maple Immigration. Got the shirt on today even and everything. I think I wear that recently. Yeah. Anyways, so Maple Immigration, I'm based in Toronto. And yeah, so I've been doing immigration for about 10 years. John and I have collaborated on something called Second Passport. And what Second Passport is a way to actually go through the immigration system in a holistic approach where you can actually plan, implement, and settle in Canada successfully. So go check it out, mysecondpassport.ca. And you'll notice on the screen there, we have something called the 5-Day Immigration Blueprint Challenge, which will be starting on July 19th. There'll be a live version. We have it on demand, but the live version is exactly what it is. It's live, and it's about 10 hours of question and answer and a tutorial every day for an hour, which is awesome. So let's dive in. Let's talk about work permits. So let's do a recap there, John. Programs, work permits. So global talent. Let's see. What do we got here? Let's do this in 2 minutes or less.
Okay.
Global talent. I'll just fire it off at you. Global talent, go.
Global talent, largely tech occupations, and employers can get authorization to hire you in a very short period of time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, somewhere in between there. Once the employer gets authorization, you go off and apply for your work permits.
Awesome. In-demand jobs in the tech industry. Global talent, if that's you, that's a program for you. Go check out last week if you want more information on that. IEC, John, go.
Jeez, just under the gun here.
I'm going.
I know. International Experience Canada. Work permits for youth between 18 and 35, some 18 to 30, depending on the country, based on bilateral agreements signed between Canada and each corresponding partner country.
Yep. So basically, different for each country, 3 phases, working holiday, or three streams to it: working holiday, young professional, and the internship or the international co-op, I think it is. All right, which I've never processed anybody under. Okay, international mobility program. So so basically, people that are LMIA exempt can show up at the border, get a work permit for various reasons, either through an intercompany transfer or through some other trade agreement.
But only can show up at the border and get a work permit if they're visa exempt.
Thank you. Yeah, good point. Good point. If you're visa exempt, yeah. Okay. Post-grad work permit.
Open work permit that's available to you if you have graduated from a recognized program at a designated learning institution in Canada, and the program has to be at least 8 months. And there are certain criteria that the DLI has to meet to be considered a institution that's postgraduate work permit eligible. We always recommend, if possible, that you look at doing a 2-year study, because then you end up with a 3-year post-graduation work permit, which is pretty much a gigantic foot in the door to permanent residence.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome. And currently, just so you know, they are starting to issue some invitations. I've had a few questions on that recently. So if you are, sorry, what am I saying? I've gone backwards there. IEC. It's a crazy day for me here, John. So, yeah, I wanted to put that in there. Anyways, let's move on. So open work permits, closed work permits, LMIAs, I'll just wrap that up. So if you have an open work permit, basically it could be a bridging open work permit for somebody that's attached to a program similar to what a postgrad is for a student. It could be, say under a caregiver program. It could be under, if you've got a work permit and then you're bridging to something and you're going through express entry, that could be something there. Closed work permit is an LMIA based work permit where you have to go through a labor market impact assessment with an employer, and then you can apply for the work permit. All right, so let's leave it at that. Before I do, I'm just going to give a shout out. I saw Adam, MD, Jacker, Hussein, and Yoga Christian all gave us a thumbs up. So thanks, guys, for coming out. And there's a few names in there that I've seen a couple times. I really appreciate you guys showing up consistently. It makes John and I feel really good. Oh, and Naheed, too. Thanks, Naheed. Came in under the wire. So anybody else, if you guys want to throw in some questions or anything, please put them in there because we would love to take them. But other than that, let's move on. So let's talk about temporary worker to PR. So I guess mostly we would be going from, say, a work permit, maybe a post-grad to, say, a CEC. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. One thing let's split them off in half. Let's talk first briefly about work permits that are employer specific, and they're usually tied to an LMIA. Now, within that stream, you are working for one employer in one job, and usually those conditions are listed on the work permit. If you're fortunate enough to have an LMIA that your employer organized that not only supports your application for a work permit, but also your application for permanent residence, you are that far ahead towards getting PR. Of course, as we've mentioned before, work experience generally should be skilled, should be under the National Occupation Classification of 0, A or B, which means managerial, professional, or trades. These things are skilled work experience, I should say, is recognized by RCC as being, or I should say is what they recognize as valid work experience for a number of programs, especially Canadian Experience Class. So going over to open work permits, maybe you're here as the partner of a person who's already on a work permit or a study permit, or you have that post-graduation work permit. We really advise that as soon as possible that you work in one of those skilled occupations and not one of the lower skilled occupations. Those opportunities may not always be there, but if your ultimate goal is permanent residence and you're working as a sandwich maker or a laborer or a bartender or a waiter or a food services counter attendant, your pathway to PR is much more difficult. So try and find skilled work experience.
Cool. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to talk more about like the CRS scores with that, or do you want to, like, I think, just in terms of clarifying the pathway. So, going from a work permit, to CEC obviously makes sense because you're going to need Canadian work experience, right?
Yes, and the work experience should be skilled. Again, the other reason why it should be skilled, so you can get into the Canadian experience class, and I'm sure you can back me up on this, is that the government is just sucking out candidates in the Canadian experience class. I mean, we've seen draws as low as 75 points. So if you're able to get into the express entry pool as a Canadian experience class candidate, I believe your chances for PR are, at least right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, are very, very high.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The 75 points that John was referring to was on February 13th. They invited 27,332 people, which was the biggest draw we've ever seen in Express Entry. And it was all Canadian experience class. And it's funny because the 75 points, initially when that came out, I was like, 75 points? How do you get 75 points? That was everybody, because to get 75 points, you needed like high school, 1 year of work experience, and you were like 0 for age,
Yeah, you could be my age with a year of work experience, and and absolutely English language scores that just meet the cutoff, and that's it. Then you're in.
Yeah.
And so we've discussed before about Canadian immigration targets were missed by over 50% in 2020, and they've got huge 400,000 plus targets for 2021. In order to meet those targets, the government's going to have more and more applicants come in, and I think they're going to just keep emptying out the Canadian experience class queue. They're just going to keep inviting people.
Well, we've seen a few more draws too, right? Like there was one, it was down, I think it was 397 was the last one. So and this is why it's a good opportunity for people inland, because they are going to fill that. But if you're watching from overseas, I don't want you to lose faith on that, because with the targets and the numbers that they're actually looking to bring in, mathematically they can't bring in those numbers from just inland candidates. Like at the time they did the draw, and this is why I like to tell people this, and I'll just kind of digress a little bit in that, because if you think about it, at the time of the draw, there was 152,000 people that were in the pool. They drew 27,332, and they brought it down to 125,000, right? So that was at 27,000, and the lowest score was 75, which tells me that there was 27,000 CC people in there, and the rest of them would have been trades or FSW, right?
Yeah.
So the majority of those people are going to be there. So when I've been speaking to people and they're like, "Oh, my scores are in the 460s," and what do you think? And I said, I think you're going to be fine. And the reason I think that people are going to be fine with those scores is because you're going to see those draws start to go, and they're going to have to meet their numbers, and it's going to drive down those scores, because presumably the majority of the people that are left in there are going to be FSWs, especially with the new TR to PR pathways as well, because you're cleaning up a lot of people, like 90,000 people in those pathways. So I think that's going to bode well for people. It's just when the borders open up and things go. So yeah.
One thing worth mentioning, though, I hate to say I'm a little bit less optimistic about FSW than you, and the reason being is that for our listeners, a lot of the overseas processing capacity that takes place within our IRC system takes place at certain regional visa offices. For instance, Delhi is a big one, Manila is another, and these overseas visa offices their staffing levels and their processing capacity have been brutally hit by COVID. And we're seeing all sorts of applications take double and triple the time. So my concern is, and it could be unfounded,
I disagree, but anyways,
but my concern is that the processing capacity at these places are going to take some time to get back to normal, and FSW draws may not take place until that happens. But again, I'm just going by my experience dealing with these visa posts and other matters, and I just don't see much capacity there right now.
I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why I disagree
Okay.
with you. Because I know that they're already putting staff back into the embassies, and they're staffing them up, and that started a couple months ago, which I thought was surprising, and it was a little early because they're sending people back to visa posts. Because they repatriated when COVID started, they started bringing everybody back. But the other thing is too is that a lot of that processing, I'm seeing stuff processed in Canada, and I think they have the capacity to be able to do that. Well, they have their locally engaged staff and whatnot. But
no, that's true. You hit on a good point. A lot of this stuff could be transferred and processed from within the country.
yeah,
So
and plus with the added stuff that they're doing with the added capacity that they're putting in with the technology. I don't know if you saw that report. Somebody had posted it up 2 days ago about the ATIPs and all of the stuff that they're going to start doing. And then there was an announcement yesterday with it or this morning that came out from IRCC. Like, they're really investing pretty heavy in tech. And as much as you and I were a little hard on them with that new TR to PR, that portal, I actually like the portal itself, and I hope that the rep portals and the MyCICs are going to go that way, especially with the real time reporting. So I think with the changes in it, the tech and everything, I think it's going to go a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, let's get back to the Canadian work stuff because we're babbling on here a little bit. Sorry, it's my fault. That's me today. I don't know. Sorry, guys. But again, if anybody has any questions while we're off track about anything at all, throw them in there because I'd love to answer them, and I know John would too. Or if you just want to say hello. Okay, so let's move on. Why does Canada want foreign workers? Why do Canada want foreign workers, John?
Because we're going to be facing numerous challenges, one of them being a demographic time bomb. Canadians, like many other cultures in the world, just aren't having enough babies. We're not having our 2.1, Brandon.
I am.
Have you had a 0.1?
Yeah.
Excellent. So we're not having our 2.1 babies. And if, as Brandon has put out before, that if we're going to pay for the pensions of guys like us, that we're going to have younger blood come into the country and work all the jobs that we're going to retire from. Now I understand that my comments are a bit cynical there, but it is somewhat accurate. You know, we are looking at demographic challenges in this country, and immigration is the government's main plan to meet those challenges.
You know what? Totally not cynical. It's the truth. And I always refer to Canada as this big Ponzi scheme because we have to bring in people at the bottom just to keep paying for the people at the top, which are the retayees, right? That's why there's this preference to younger people. Funny enough, I was a guest on a podcast yesterday. Really great podcast with this lady named Courtney. And she had said a few things to me that got me thinking, but I had put out the statistic there where, you know, the number of workers back in the 70s, it was like 6 workers to every 1 retiree. Currently, I think we're sitting at about 3 to 1. And then in 2035, it's 2 to 1, which doesn't make the system sustainable. And she told me about a great book called The Power of Zero, where it explores all of that. But we got into a discussion about declining birth rates, not only in Canada, but pretty much every Western country in the world, and how that's going to be filled up. And actually, I'm happy to say that Canada has a very open, we generally have a pretty open mind to immigration in this country, and we're generally pretty open. And I think, you know, taking a long-term view, I think we're going to be a lot further ahead of the game than a lot of other countries because you're seeing a lot of other places where they're losing people. And I think that's, it's massive. It's massive. And probably within the next 30 to 40 years, it's actually going to become very critical to a lot of different countries. So I'm happy where we sit. I think the numbers are justified. I know a lot of people, there's sometimes there's this fear around immigration, like, oh, these people are going to come in, they're going to steal our jobs. It's like, man, what are you talking about? There's more than enough for people to do. And a lot of people come in and do a lot of highly skilled different jobs that are required. So it makes us more competitive. So I'm happy about that in this country anyways. So fill labor needs, taxes. Government wants more of a tax base, right? But yeah.
We're going to have some bills to pay off after all of this.
What, the COVID?
We have spent everything. We've melted down the family silver. I mean, we've got some bills to pay.
Yeah, I think we do, but I think if we're smart about it, and crazy enough, and this might be a conversation for another day, we should actually get somebody on here to talk money and talk that at some point, just in terms of recovery. I think that would be really interesting. But I know you read a lot about this, but I don't know. It's I think we're pretty optimistic about how we'll go. Are you?
I can't comment. I like to think I know something, and then the more I read, the more I realize how little I know in this area. So I will reserve comment.
Okay, cool. Well, listen. Geez, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say on this. I think basically what we can do is we can wrap up here, unless somebody has some questions or anything. Everyone's really quiet. So, but yeah, if anybody wants to throw anything in there, please feel free. Otherwise, what do you say we wrap up?
Well, I've got one question for you, Brandon. I hope you don't mind. In 2019, there were 400,000 work permits issued. Okay. Obviously less for 2020 because of the pandemic. Do you think we're going to see a huge increase in work permit issuance in the next 6 to 8 months as we come back online after the pandemic? I know it's hard to say, but you think about it. You and I have seen IRCC starting to issue a lot of study permits for those foreign students who want to come in and start their programs in September. And they're bringing their husbands and wives with them, so that means work permits on that side.
So yes, I do. If you're talking about that, then yes, definitely. You're going to have the students and stuff. I was speaking to a colleague of ours yesterday, and she was interviewing because she's hiring for like 40 different cooks, right?
Wow.
She has 40 different cooks that she's hiring for right now, which surprised the heck out of me. Because yeah, things are still moving, and I think when things open up, it's gonna be madness, like madness in terms of that. Because think about just the people that haven't traveled or haven't done anything in like a year, right? And then when I think it's I think we'll be up to those levels. I think quite frankly with the with the targets that need to be hit and the politics behind that as well, I think that there's going to be a real push to move that stuff through.
Also we look to our neighbors to the south who've opened up a bit faster than us. Certain industries are seeing big labor crunch pressures. Restaurants and hospitality for one, but also in other areas, because during the pandemic, some people have permanently left the labor force. They've retired. Or they've decided to leave that industry. You're hearing stories in the United States of people leaving the restaurant industry and going and working in Amazon warehouses. And they're not going to be tempted to come back to the restaurant industry. So I think as we open up in Canada, certain industries are going to go, oh my God, we just can't find anybody. And then they're going to be processing LMIAs and PNP applications to get foreign workers in. So, supply.
I don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we agree on something today, Brandon. We're always fighting.
No, we're not. Come on. It is. We're agreeing to disagree. But it wouldn't be fun if we weren't agreeing all the time.
I know.
That's the whole thing. But we still love each other, so that's good. At least I love you. I don't know about that. If it's mutual. Okay, let's leave it at that, buddy. Okay, so let's wrap up. It's every Tuesday and Thursday. We're here. Coffee with John and Brandon. I have a coffee. Did you bring one today?
I can't wait. I've got to have my early to be able to wake up. I always have my glass of water in the background. So
That's it. I've got 3 hours on you.
I know. I know.
But so yeah, so every Tuesday and Thursday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. If you're overseas, say, Manila, 12:30 p.m. I guess is 12:30 a.m. So if you're a night hawk, then maybe or late night morning or whatever, feel free to tune in. Again, we got the challenge starting on July 19th. Go check that out. And if you are looking for something that's a little bit more personalized, please feel free to reach out, either John or myself. If you're looking for something BCPMP or anything work permit related, by all means, reach out to John there. And yeah, that's it. So we'll leave it at that. John, thanks, buddy.
Take it easy, Brandon. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care, man. Take care, guys. Thanks again for showing up. And we'll just give a final shout out. We got Jem, Nahid, Adam, MD Yoga, and we got a love from Suba. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care, John. Bye, guys.